In this masterclass, we're going to cover Zoho Campaigns in depth. So if you are serious about using Zoho Campaigns properly, then this video is for you. I'll start with quickly explaining what Zoho Campaigns is and why you should care. And from there, we'll move on to Zoho Campaigns setup, getting contacts data into Zoho Campaigns, contact segmentation, sending an email blast / campaign, creating templates, creating drips / workflows, using the mobile application, and reporting. Now, you don't rise to the level of a software's capabilities, you fall to the level of your training. So like and subscribe to the channel. That way you can learn to use Zoho in the best way possible at zero cost. And with that, let's do this. All right, so what is Zoho Campaigns? Zoho Campaigns is an email marketing tool. And the important thing to understand about Zoho Campaigns is you can connect with your CRM to bring in data, or you can import data manually. From there, you can segment your database, so that way you don't have this cluster situation where you just have lists of hundreds of thousands of people, but you can narrow into certain parts of your audience and send tailored communications, so that's segmentation. Once you have a segment, you can send out an email campaign or an email blast to a certain segment, which is just a one-time mass communication to a certain part of your contacts list or audience. On the other hand, you can also send out an email drip or create an email drip. And an email drip is a sequence of different communications that you have prepared for a certain segment of your audience. So those are the two types of communication that you have. You can do that with both email and SMS, so text messages, but primarily I'm seeing people use Zoho Campaigns for emails to send out their newsletters and to nurture their leads over time. All right, if you don't get Zoho Campaigns set up correctly, then nothing else really matters in this video because you won't be able to use the tool properly or really at all. So I'm going to show you how to first get into Zoho Campaigns and then how to set it up properly. So first and foremost, you're going to either go to campaigns.zoho.com, CRM Plus, or one.zoho.com. And that's just going to depend on what plan you have. So you need to make sure you know what plan you have. If you don't have Zoho Campaigns yet, I recommend that you start with Zoho One. Just start with a free trial. You don't even have to add your credit card. There's a link in the description below. But if you have a plan, make sure you navigate over to the Zoho Campaigns application. Here, I'm just in campaigns.zoho.com. Just in case some of you don't have one.zoho.com, I don't want you to be confused with that interface. All right. So once you get access to Zoho Campaigns, this is how you set it up. So you go to the gear icon at the top left, that cogwheel. And then from here, we need to make sure that your domain is ready to go. So in the deliverability section, you're going to see manage senders, domain authentication, and I want you to click on domain authentication. Okay, so you can see here, I have two domains that I can send out from, drewbrockbank.me and drewbrockbank.com. So I want you to go here and add a sender. You shouldn't really be seeing anything here unless you already attempted setup. Then from here, you're going to enter an email address. So first you're going to enter an email address. It's going to send a verification email. It's essentially Zoho Campaigns' way of saying, is this actually your email? You're claiming that it's your email. Go into your email, click on the verification email, and verify that this is yours. Now, once you do that, then the email will pop up here. And then you'll get prompted to add SPF and DKIM records. Now, this is probably the trickiest part of setup, but if you don't get this right, you're not going to be able to use the tool. So first, make sure that you're using a custom domain. Do not put a gmail.com in there. Zoho is not enabling people who are using public domains anymore. So don't use a public domain, use a custom domain that you already have. So with that, you got SPF and DKIM records. If you're not familiar with SPF and DKIM records, they're essentially TXT records that you're adding to a DNS. And if you don't know what a DNS is, you've got their domain host like GoDaddy or Bluehost. There's lots of different ones. I use GoDaddy. You can also use Google. There's a lot of different domain hosts that you can use, and they let you get into DNS, and it's your domain name servers. And essentially what you can do in those applications, and it's actually really hard to demonstrate to you because I'd have to take you into my backend. I'm not going to do that. So you need to go into GoDaddy, Bluehost, whatever your domain host site is. you need to go into the back end. You need to go configure their DNS settings. And then you need to make sure you add 2 TXT records. So the TXT record for SPF and then a TXT record for DKIM. Now, here is a more specific setup guide if you want to get the details for how to set this up correctly. So this is going to walk you through authentication, what it looks like to actually add TXT records. And this is a proper guide for you to be able to do this in the best way possible. It lists out a couple of domain hosts for you too. So with like Bluehost, Namecheap, Network Solutions, it's going to show you how to actually go through and do that. So if you want that guide, it's actually just right here. When you click on the SPF and DKIM records next to the domain, it says learn more. You can click there and it's going to walk you through exactly how to set up SPF and DKIM records. So you need to make sure at a bare minimum, when you go to set this thing up, that you have your DKIM and SPF records added and that you've added your email domain, your custom domain as a sender for Zoho Campaigns. Let's talk about getting data into Zoho Campaigns. When I say data, I'm talking about your contacts, the people that you want to communicate with. How do you actually get their data inside of Zoho Campaigns? And this technically could have been a part of the setup section of this video, but I wanted to give it a dedicated section because there's so much that goes into this. I wanted to make sure that we had a time and space to actually go over this in depth. So if you go into Zoho Campaigns at the top right, you're going to see this plus icon. If you click on the plus icon and then go over to contacts, you got a couple options for how you can bring contact information into Zoho Campaigns. So first and foremost, you can add contacts manually. Now, I'm not going to lie, I don't really see people do this very often, but if you're like, hey, Drew, I just have like 3 contacts I really need to add into Zoho Campaigns, cool. You can go to this add contacts and you can add contacts manually. You have 2 options. You can go to this contact form and it will just have you add 1 contact, or you can do multiple contacts. And essentially you can add as many contacts from that form manually as you want. Now, it doesn't really make sense to do something like this, in my opinion, when you have options like import contacts and sync contacts, which are much more popular forms or ways of getting data into Zoho contacts. Now, I recommend sync contacts, which we're going to go more in depth on in just a moment, but you got import contacts. So sometimes it's not possible to sync with your contacts. Most of you, if you're watching this video, you're going to be using Zoho CRM, and you are in luck if that's your situation, because you can just sync directly with Zoho CRM and bring that data into campaigns. Now, if that's not possible, you're not using a system that has a sync service with Zoho Campaigns, then you can import your contacts. So if you have the capability from your current CRM or your spreadsheet to export the data, then you can import that data as contacts into Zoho Campaigns. You go to import contacts, it's going to have you select a file. Just make sure that you have the right file types. You can also hook up to Google Drive, OneDrive, Dropbox, Zoho WorkDrive, Evernote, and Box. So make sure that you have your file either in a CSV, XLS, or XLSX. Those are Excel files. And then the maximum file size is 25 megabytes for the contacts list that you want to import. From there, you just choose the subscription type. You choose a list. You don't have to choose a list, by the way. And I wouldn't recommend that you do. We're going to go more in depth on this in a later section of this masterclass. But instead of choosing lists, Zoho Campaigns is trying to get you into the mode of segmentation as opposed to specific lists. So you can use lists. I don't necessarily recommend it. I just recommend you use segments. It's more robust. They overlap and they're much better. And it keeps things much more organized to have just segments as opposed to lists and segments crossing over. But that's just the best practice as far as keeping things clean in the system. Okay, so you got field mapping. And so once you actually import a file, you're going to have a bunch of columns in that file, and you want to make sure that you link those columns to specific fields that exist inside of Zoho Campaigns. And if they don't exist, you need to create them. That's going to make more sense in just a moment once I show you how to set up the sync, which goes through the same process. All right, so that's importing contacts. Now, we have the most popular option, the option that I recommend for everybody, sync contacts. If this is possible, use this option. So these are the different systems that Zoho Campaigns lets you integrate with out of the box. You can actually integrate with most systems that have an API. So virtually any system that has any automation capabilities, you can integrate with. This is just what you can integrate with out of the box. When I say basically anything, I'm saying via Zoho Flow and Zoho and Zapier, you can pretty much connect campaigns with anything, which is great. So you've got Zoho CRM, and this is the most popular option. So this is the one that we're going to do. We're going to click on New Sync here. I'm going to show you how this works. So first, you select a module, right? And a module is essentially a tab on a spreadsheet, or it's a certain type of record. So you would choose the certain type of record. Now, I've already selected my contacts and leads, so it's not showing up here, but you would want to select your contacts or leads. That's usually the modules that host the emails that you're going to want to send out to, or the people that you want to send communications to. So you'd first select a module. Now we're going to select, actually, let's say here that we were using the CRM, that we were using contacts in Zoho CRM. This will give you a better idea. Pick it up from here and we'll click on edit. Awesome. So let's say we had selected the contacts module. I could sync to a list if I wanted to, but I don't have to, so I'm not going to select that. And then I have to choose a subscription type. This should look familiar because we just looked at this on the import page for getting information or contact data into Zoho Campaigns. So subscription type, marketing. Then I can choose a topic. So you'll want to make sure that you have topics built out. That way, if someone unsubscribes, they don't have to unsubscribe to anything. They can unsubscribe to certain topics. So you could put your newsletter as a topic, marketing general as a topic, certain products as a topic. However you want to coordinate them, setting preferences for communication. Those are the topics that you're going to build out. So update empty field value. We're not going to select that. And then you got advanced features, exclude opt-out contacts, remove opt-out Zoho CRM records. Okay, so we've got this set up. I'm going to move forward. Now, we've selected the module. We decided subscription type, where the data is going to end up in a list if we want to. We don't have to because we're going to do segments later. From here, we've got contacts, accounts, and deals. And this is what is so nice about using the sync services is Zoho is being really intelligent here in that they're not just grabbing the contacts data, but the records related to contacts. So you've got accounts, and the way that this works, if you're familiar with Zoho CRM, you've got lookup fields, right? So your contact looks up to an organization or an account or a company, and then your deals, so the opportunities that you have in your organization, look up to a contact. Now, what that allows you to do is because those records are related, you can now access from the contact in Zoho Campaigns different pieces of data from different records. This is really helpful because it allows you to build very advanced segments. This would be so difficult to do with a third-party integration. It would take so much effort. You'd spend a fortune on an integration in order to get this, and you're getting this out of the box. So use it because it will allow you so much more capability in Zoho Campaigns down the road as far as segmentation goes. So the more data you can bring in, the better segments that you can build. Now, we got the contacts record that we want to bring data points from Zoho CRM into Zoho Campaigns. So you can see I've got last name, email, demo record, first name. Cool. So I can actually map whatever other fields from that record I'd like onto the record, which is really into the Zoho Campaigns contacts record. So I just need to first decide what field from Zoho CRM I want to bring over, choose that field, and then I can actually create a new field if I'd like inside of Zoho Campaigns if there's not already an existing field with that name or that I should be mapping over to. So on the left, you got the Zoho CRM fields. On the right, you've got the campaigns fields. Once I'm ready to go, I can actually add that field, and then it will add to the list of mapped data points. So then we've got accounts because they have a relationship there. We're able to bring over information from the accounts record over to Zoho Campaigns. And you can also bring over information from the deals. It's the same practice there. You just jump in, you select the field, and then you can add a new field if needed. And then you just choose the field from Zoho Campaigns that you want to map it over to. Awesome. All right. So from here, you can go ahead and initiate the sync for yourself. It will just take a moment to load up. And then you have the configuration details that you had set up initially. That was the first page. You've got your field mapping set up. It'll just let you view that to see what data is coming over. And then you have the sync history. You know, how many records are coming over every day from the sync. So you're able to see that as well in sync history. So those are your various options for bringing data into Zoho Campaigns. And now we are going to talk about segmentation, which is getting that data into the system and doing something with it. So it's not just a customer, but you can be very intelligent about how you market to your list of contacts. Before you go crazy with building segments inside of Zoho Campaigns, you need to make sure you have proper documentation. This is the part where I think a lot of my clients are like, no, like I don't want to create segments. Like this is lame homework. I promise you this is worth it. The better you can lay out your organization and your customer journey from left to right, the better segments you can build because you understand where it fits into the process. We are built to look from left to right and understand things in a linear fashion. While business certainly isn't linear in how things actually go down, it's good to lay out your processes so that you can see, hey, where do these segments fit into my day-to-day operations and helping someone go from pain to gain, from awareness, part of the customer journey, to becoming a customer. So with that, what you're seeing here is actually inside of my CRM. So I have a web tab in my CRM called Journey. And the idea here is anyone in my organization can look at this document and see the customer journey from left to right, see our operations from left to right. Now, I also, just quick note, these columns are also the columns that I have in my Kanban views in my system. So in my CRM, from left to right, you can view the entire process so that you don't just see information, you see information in relation to the processes in the organization. Didn't mean for that to rhyme, but it kind of does. So make a copy of this. Do not reinvent the wheel. You've got raw lead, MQL, working, reach. This is what a long sales cycle will look like for most organizations. But make sure that you make a copy of this document. It's in the link in the description below. It should be labeled Journey Map. And make sure that this fits for your organization. Because you need to represent clearly the process, your marketing sales processes, if you want to properly create segments, which we're going to go over in just a moment. So make sure you make a copy of this. Make sure all of these columns represent the different stages or statuses in your marketing and sales process. The reason why this is important is you can see here for row 6, I have my segmentation list so that I know exactly who should be getting what kinds of communications. Now, this isn't going to include every segment you're ever going to build, but it's going to do most of it for you. So this will give you a really good head start. You're going to be way farther ahead, you're going to be way ahead of other organizations that are trying to do segmentation correctly if you can just build this document and list out the segments like I have here. So even just by making a copy, you're going to be so far ahead. So go ahead and make that copy. Make sure that these stages match your processes, and then go ahead and fill out this column here for segmentation lists. And if you don't want to do all that, just make a copy, use my processes first, just steal them stage by stage, just steal it, and then adjust it as you go. That's what most of my clients end up doing, which is totally fine. That's what I want them to do. So with that, once you've outlined all your different segments per stage and status in the process, then you can go over to Zoho Campaigns. You can go to the contact section, and then you can go to segments. And when you go to segments, you can go ahead and create a segment. And before we create a segment from scratch, I'm going to show you some of the interesting things that I've done with segments. I'm not going to show you all my segments. I'm going to show you some of them. Got to keep some of the secret sauce to myself, but I'm going to show you the interesting things you can do here. So if you remember in the last section of this video, we brought over data from Zoho CRM into Zoho Campaigns. Now, because we've brought over not just lead information and contact information, but we have deal information too, we can do some really interesting things now with segmentation. For example, this needs nurturing, not newsletter. The goal of this segment is to get them to book a call and become a qualified opportunity, or in other words, become a deal. So with that objective in mind and with that context in mind, the different criteria should make sense for the segment. So you got lead status, doesn't contain rejected, or in other words, if we reference the documentation, as long as they're not in this column, we should be good to go. If they're not in that column, then they're in recycled, reached, working, MQL, lead. I don't use raw lead really right now. Then I'm trying to get them to book a call so I can qualify them so they'll enter my pipeline. Or if the deal stage is closed won. So if we look at my different deal stages, if it's closed lost, I want to make sure they're in this segment, because just because they're closed lost doesn't necessarily mean they never want to do a deal in the future. It just means that for at that particular point in time, they were lost. You can get more granular and do a closed loss reason why filter here as well. For what I'm doing, I really don't need that. So if it's marked closed loss, and the reason I don't have any of these other stages in there, right? Needs analysis, create, send, proposal, negotiation, and close one. The reason those aren't in there is because I'm already working them as a deal. So why would I send communications trying to nurture them into booking a sales call so they can get qualified if they're already in my qualified pipeline? That just wouldn't make any sense. So here you can see the advantages of collecting data and building segments on all that collected data so that you don't, I mean, the situation we want to avoid, it's actually just very practical. Like if I jump on a sales call with someone, I'm like, it's great to meet you. You seem like a great fit. I'm going to send you over a proposal. Would you like a proposal? Yes. Awesome. Send over a proposal. And then the next day they get an automated communication from Zoho Campaigns saying, we would love for you to book with our sales team. Book here. They're going to be like, just met with you. So it's just a bad look if you do things like that. It just doesn't make any sense to have your marketing communications go out to people like that. So you've got core deal stage is closed lost. And then finally, and demo record is false. So I have demo records in my system to show people how the system operates. So with that, that is my needs nurturing, not newsletter segment that I've added. And then I've got a very broad segment for newsletter. You can see here, as long as it's not a demo record and the lead status doesn't contain rejected. Again, essentially how my system works, and I do this for a lot of my clients too, you should do this as well, is when someone fills out a form and initially the contact information lands in my system, it becomes a raw lead for 0.25 seconds. And then I have an automation via Zoho Flow that checks that email to make sure that that email is valid. And if it's an invalid email, it immediately gets marked as junk or marked as rejected, which is just not a real lead. It's a junk lead. So you should do that as well, because you don't want all these junk leads with invalid email addresses ending up inside of your segments in Zoho Campaigns. So this is one way to combat that, is by first having the automation to send over to the horrible line, to send over to rejected. And then second, to make sure that your lead statuses don't contain rejected here as well. So make sure that you do that in order to set yourself up for success with building segments. Make sure you have all of your data coming over, and then make sure that you build proper segments based on what you're trying to accomplish. You can also get way crazier with this. Like if you've sold certain services, you can bring over the different services that a contact has had in here and segment based on what services they've had. You can get really crazy, but this is just a quick overview so you know how all these things work. Okay, so we talked about the different segments I've created. Let's talk about creating one from scratch. Same thing here. We wanted to do like general for customers. We could do, okay, a deal name is not empty. Okay, why would this work? So, oh, and we'd have to do it like this. Here, let's do this. We'll do stage is, we'll do contains one. Okay. So why would this work as a segment? Well, I have different contacts in my database. And if they have a closed one deal, if we're doing B2B, if you're doing B2C, it's a little different, right? You would do this on sales orders, but I'm doing B2B here. So I'm going to use closed one as an example. If I'm doing B2B and I have a contact that has a deal stage on the contact record marked closed one, then they are a customer, right? If I've won a deal with them, they're a client of mine. So I could put clients or customer here. If you're doing B2C, you do customers on a sales order equals fulfilled, or sales order is not empty. Sales order ID isn't empty, because that would properly segment and say, hey, these contacts that I have, not all the contacts I have in my database are customers. Some of the contacts are, some of them are clients, some of them are not clients. So if you want to further segment here, you'd create the criteria and you'd say, hey, deal stage for B2B, deal stage contains one is my customers. And then you would say, if you were doing B2C, You do like sales order ID is not empty here with is not empty. And then that would ensure that you are segmenting appropriately your different customers. Once you actually do that, you can jump into the segment itself and you can view the different contacts there and match it up with the database you're syncing with or the list that you imported and make sure that's the correct count. Also understand that it's not going to have duplicate contacts here, so it's going to dedupe your database. So if you have leads that are also contacts, which is a possible situation, it makes sense because you can't have a customer who's doing repeat business, fills out a form, and ends up as a lead again. They need to go throughout the whole sales cycle again. It's going to merge those two contacts. It's not going to have duplicates. So keep that in mind as well. But with that, that is how you can build out your segments properly inside of Zoho Campaigns. All right, so the hard part is now over, right? So we've integrated with the data source to bring data in, or we've imported our data. We have segmented our contacts database. That way we're not just doing a customer email blast where we're doing like a spray and pray. We're just hoping that something lands. We've got our segments, we've got our data in. Now we can have fun with actually sending out emails, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to build an email campaign together. So you can see some of the email campaigns that I send out. So I'll do like news email campaign where I'll show people like, hey, this is all the news inside of Zoho. This is my cool banner. And people can like sift through all the different news in Zoho. So this is an example of an email campaign because it's not a sequence of emails that go out on like a scheduled cadence. It's just one giant email blast. So this is going to be the section of the video for you if you're going to do a newsletter like I do. You're going to want to pay attention to this because it's exactly how I do it and it's how I recommend my clients do it as well. So first and foremost, we're going to go over to the campaign section, email campaigns. We can also do this with SMS. It's pretty much the same process. And then we can go to create campaign. When we go to create a campaign, we've got a bunch of options here. For now, we're just going to do a regular campaign and we'll do create new. So for this, I'm going to do new. We'll do what is Zoho? I just made a video on this. What is Zoho? I'll do the Zoho partner explanation. Zoho partners explanation. And then I can assign a topic. So again, you assign topics. That way, if someone unsubscribes, they don't do a blanket unsubscribe. They can set preferences to only receive communications for certain things. For me, what I'm doing, I don't really need an advanced list of topics. So I'm just going to do marketing for this one. And then we're going to save and proceed. All right. Now that I have gone to the campaign creation page, I have the topic already assigned, which is great. And then for the subject, I can add a subject line. I'm going to do exactly what I did here for the subject line. I can also personalize this. So I could add like, I could do this, personalize. This would be weird, but this is just an example. I could do first name, Drew. What is Zoho? A Zoho partners explanation. And I could save that. So you can do personalization right in the subject line for the email, which is cool. And then you can do for sender, add sender details, do Rockbank, send out from my verified email with my verified email domain. And then from here, I would save. You do based on custom email. You could even do based on CRM owner address because we have that integration. So it can tell, hey, based on who the owner is in Zoho CRM, make sure that the sender address comes from them. So you could do an email blast on behalf of your entire sales team if you wanted to do that, which is pretty neat. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and make sure that's saved. Then we're going to move forward to recipient. So this is where we get to segments. So you can use lists. I don't recommend it. Just go with segments. It's going to make your life easier. And from here, you can just select the segments that make sense for you. And you can also exclude certain contacts if you want to. And then you can save. So whatever segments make sense for you, those are the ones that you can select. And you can map contacts that are not associated to any topics to the marketing topic that was chosen. Or in other words, if these segments, because this is kind of interesting, a contact has to be associated to a certain topic. And it used to be an issue that this couldn't happen automatically. But now if I choose the topic marketing and certain contacts that are in these segments don't link to marketing, you can just click this and it will automatically link them over, which is very helpful to do. Okay, so now we're going to move over to content. And we're going to go over building a template in a moment, but you're going to see that I'm going to use a template right now. So here's my template. And essentially the way I like to have it structured is I like to just have a nice banner image up top, do a bit of personalization, just hey, first name. What did Zoho just announce? And you can watch me cover it here on my Zoho news video. And then I have a call to action at the bottom that takes people to Z training. That way they can get additional free training right from my website. So I already have that as a template. Again, we're going to go over how to create a template like this in just a moment. But for now, I'm just going to select this template. The editor is going to fire up. And essentially what's happened now is this is not editing the template. This is editing an instance of the template. So basically it took that template and it populated a brand new copy of that template for me. So when I edit this, it's not going to edit the template that we're going to use in the future. Just keep that in mind. All right. So one of the things I do as well, let's just do this. I usually grab all the news like this that I've covered, and I just go into news here and I just copy it and paste it. So now that's there. And then the personalization, the merge tag is already here. So the first name should appear. And then I can click on proceed. I'd fill this out more in depth. I just want to give you the quick and dirty of it because there's also a part where I'm like, Zoho announced X. I wouldn't leave that as well. That's a placeholder for me. Then I can preview this. So what did we just do? We just set up this whole campaign up, right? So we've got the topic, the subject, the sender, the recipient or the segment, and the content that we want to send out to them. Again, this is a one-time communication blast to a certain segment of my audience or the entire audience if I choose to. And now I can preview the content that I just did here. Again, I should do Zoho just announce blank and much more. What I would do from here is I could either send immediately, I could just click send and it would blast, or I could do send later. And usually I like to schedule, so I send on a routine basis. I like to do every Monday. But for you, you can decide whatever cadence makes sense for you in the communication that you're doing. If you just want to send it right away, awesome. Most people aren't doing that. They're sending at times they know is best or on a regular basis. So that's the thing to keep in mind there is that you can schedule a campaign from Zoho Campaigns, and then you can take advantage of templates. That way you're not building out a email from scratch every single time you send out an email. We're taking advantage of segments here, not confusing lists that don't overlap, but segments that overlap so that we can narrow in on exactly the part of our audience that we want to send a communication to. We've got the right sender address. We can have multiple sender addresses, again, like you saw earlier in this video. When you're doing setup, you want to make sure that you have your DKIM and SPF record set up correctly, that we can actually send an email. If you have a public domain, you're not even going to be able to do this. You need a custom domain. You need to make sure you're verified. Then you've got the subject, which you can actually personalize, which is really interesting. Then topics. That way, if you actually send out an email blast and people want to unsubscribe, they don't have to do a blanket unsubscribe to all your communication. They could set preferences and unsubscribe to certain parts of your communications for your organization. And with that, that is how you can send a campaign inside of Zoho Campaigns. So what you don't want to do in Zoho Campaigns is reinvent the wheel every single time you send out an email. You want to take advantage of an email template, especially if you're doing like a weekly newsletter or you're having some kind of communication where you can take advantage of a previous design of a template, an email template, and you can just tweak it from there, just like I did in the last section of this video. So how do you actually use Zoho Campaigns email templates? You go into Zoho Campaigns, and then from there, you go over to library. So go ahead and find library, and then you can go over to email templates. This is where you're going to want to go. And then from here, you can see I have this template. I showed this in the last section, but just to give you an idea what it could look like. There you go. There's my beautiful email template that I've designed. So for yourself, you may want to design something different. These are your options when creating a email template. So click on create using, then you can go to basic templates, pre-designed templates, HTML editor. So if you want it to look less promotional, which all the communication that's going to go out from here is going to look promotional because at the bottom it's going to say click here to unsubscribe. versus transactional. If you send an email to your friend from your personal Gmail, that's like a transactional email. Or if you send it from the CRM, that's more of a transactional email. It's not going to have the gray bars on the side. You're going to get that with Zoho Campaigns, unless, at least the gray bars you don't have to have, but you're going to get the thing at the bottom that says click here to unsubscribe, which makes it look promotional. You're just going to get that because this is a tool for mass communications. Therefore, it's required to have those unsubscribe button or set my preferences button at the bottom of an email. But with that, if you want it to look as natural and transactional as possible, you can use the HTML editor. But with that, you have pre-designed templates you can use and then basic templates. So let's go to basic templates. Let me just show you. So these basic templates are just showing you general sections and placeholders for you that you can take advantage of. If I go back to from basic templates, and I go to create using pre-designed templates, Zoho gives what I think are not the best designed. Some of these are pretty cool. Like this one's not that bad at all. But I don't know, this looks like super in your face to me. And maybe you're like, hey, Drew, this is exactly what I want. Like, what are you talking about? Awesome. I think it's great. It's just not my style. So go through here, take advantage of a template so you don't have to recreate the wheel. Or if you want to create it from scratch, then use the basic template, which just gives you placeholders. But here's all the pre-designed templates for you that you can take advantage of. And I'm going to tell you right now, I've been through here before and these used to be a lot uglier. So they've definitely done some work here. Definitely looks better than it used to. So yep, there you go for pre-designed templates inside of Zoho Campaigns. And then you've got HTML editor. Again, this is like your best bet for making it look like a transactional email versus a promotional email. And that is a tactic, by the way, to send out campaigns so it looks like it came from like a salesperson as opposed to, hey, this is promotional, in your face, call to action. Like you're just like, hey, did you get my last email? Like something transactional as a mass communication, that's a tactic that you can use. So if you want to use that tactic, the way to execute that is through an HTML email template that you can build out. You can still take advantage of merge tags and all that nice stuff, but this will look a lot less promotional. And I believe it doesn't have the gray bars on the side when you use Zoho Campaigns HTML editor. So that's the nice thing too. All right, so let's build one of these things. We're going to build it based off of a pre-designed template because I'm not really in the mood to create one from scratch with you guys, but you can always get inspiration from somewhere like Pinterest or yeah, I've got a Pinterest account. I'm okay with that. I go to Pinterest and I'll look at like different designs, different like UI UX designs. I'll go on Google, I'll just search for different designs to get inspiration for emails that I like. I base this, by the way, I didn't invent this. I used to get a recurring email newsletter and I just copied the format because I liked it. It was super simple, white background, cool image up top, and then like a listicle in the middle, which is, I do like a listicle for the news. So let's build one of these from scratch. Create using pre-designed template. We're not from scratch, pre-designed template. Have these load up. I'm going to choose one that I like. I'm going to choose this. And I'm going to save as a template. We're going to do welcome to the family. We'll just do welcome. Save it. And you'll notice all the elements have pre-populated onto the canvas where I can edit the actual email contents. So I've got a couple of elements here for building a template. And I've got a text element, image plus text, button, column, social, footer, spacer, divider, dynamic content, which allows you to dynamically populate certain sections of the email, table, box, text, insert HTML. A lot of those are self-explanatory, but it's helpful to understand. So from here, I can go through these different elements and tweak it so that it makes sense for my organization and what I'm trying to accomplish. If I want to drag an image here, then I can drag it onto the canvas and I can upload. And once I upload, you can see I have all these different images I've used. So if I wanted to use this, so authorized partner, then I could go ahead and change the width here. And I can do small. And I want to do it in the center. And then I can remove this. And I can start to tweak this up. Yeah, I could use my logo like it told me to, but sometimes it's more meaningful for people to be like, oh, this is a legitimate Zoho authorized partner, right? I could just copy what I have on my site. You just do Zoho Consulting, that works. Wow, that looks great, doesn't it? Zoho Consulting, that works. Remove that. Do something interesting, something designy. And then you can start to tweak this and have it reflect your different colors. Go in here to design a button. Show you this is kind of interesting. Go to inspect. And grab the color here, the hex code. And then I can change the hex code here. I can change this image. That image is actually really good. So we'll see if I can compete with that. Go ahead and choose this one. Sorry, yours was cooler. And then I'm going to do this too. Now I'm just having fun with it. Guys, if you want to skip this and you're kind of getting the idea, you can totally skip this. I just want to show you from top to bottom how you can go about designing a template if you want to. So you can see here, still got that hex code. So I'm just copying it over. Geez, there's so many elements in this template. Okay, cool. You do don't trust them. Don't trust us. Don't take our word. Yeah, I don't think it's good to say don't trust us. Don't take our word for it. Take theirs. And then whatever you want to put there. You can just edit this whole thing and make sure that it reflects your brand. That's really nice. And you can go to save, and then it will save for you. And then you can build your email campaign or a drip. You can even reference this during a drip campaign, which we're going to talk about in the next section of this video. That way you don't have to recreate the wheel. So I highly recommend you take advantage of templates before you go about sending a campaign, before you go about doing a drip campaign. That way you don't have to start everything from scratch. That's what makes work so exhausting, is when you have to reinvent the wheel every single time you're doing something, and you want to reduce all the friction involved in doing a process. You don't want to make it unnecessarily hard for yourself. So you're not cheating by going in here and using templates. You're doing the right thing and you're using the system as it's supposed to be used. So go ahead, use a template, make sure it's set up before you create a campaign and before you create a drip. And we're going to go over a drip in the next section of this video.
All right, so I'm going to call these drip campaigns in Zoho Campaigns. They actually call them workflows, but it's the same idea. It's just a sequence of communications that you're sending to a certain segment, or you could do all of your audience. I don't necessarily recommend that, but you could do it. So let's dive into Zoho Campaigns and check out how to actually make this happen. So you've got this automation section. If you click there, then you will go to this Create Workflows button. And then when you create this workflow, you've got a couple of templates that you can work off of. So not templates for like email templates, we're talking workflow templates now. So they're giving you some out of the box, so you could just check out these instead of starting from scratch. They're not necessarily the most robust thing that you've ever seen, but it just shows you that you can essentially have a sequence of different emails that are being sent out at a different time. So what we're going to do is create one from scratch. And our use case here is essentially you have a segment like we discussed earlier for needs nurturing. So in other words, needs nurturing typically means you've got leads and they're not necessarily sales ready, and you want them to get qualified. So you're trying to push them to qualification. So we're going to take that segment of our audience and we're going to send them tailored communications to get them qualified. Now that's our use case, but as we go through this, you're going to be able to tailor it to your use case, because really the process for building workflows is the same across the board. So that's the use case we're going to be using for building out a workflow or a drip, whatever you'd like to call it. So we got a couple of these that we could build off of. We're not going to do that. We're going to go to custom workflow. We're going to click there. I'm going to do needs nurturing drip. All right. So with every automation you have, whether it's a workflow in Zoho Campaigns or a automation in Zoho Flow or something that you're building, an automation that you're building inside of Zoho CRM, They have the same structure generally. So the first part of the structure is a trigger or the when. So you can think of it as a when, if, then, or trigger, condition, action. So in terms of Zoho Campaigns, what we're doing here, the trigger point would actually be a segment. So we would put enter a segment here. We drag it over onto the canvas. And now we got on entering a segment on the canvas. So the nurture series is going to trigger when someone enters needs nurturing, not newsletter. We got a couple of options here. We can do existing and new contacts from the selected segment. We can do only new contacts who have entered the selected segment. Only existing contacts already present in this selected segment. We're going to choose the first one, existing and new contacts. I want everyone who's already in this segment to get the communications we're going to build out. And moving forward, I want it to work proactively so other people added to the segment automatically from the integration I have set up are also going to enter into this drip workflow series of communications that we're going to build out. So I'm going to go ahead and save this. Now we've got our when, right? Part one completed. Then we've got our if, and if is the condition that we want to set in order for this to work. Fortunately, we've kind of bypassed this in that the segment already has filter criteria. So we've inherently, that's really built into this workflow. So we already have that built in, but you're going to see there's some other conditions we can actually add to this as we go along. So we got trigger, process, actions. Let's go through the different options here just so you know what's available. For our use case, segmentation or entering a segment is perfect. But oftentimes people want to trigger on a form submission. On list entry, we talked about lists. We don't want to use lists. We want to use segments, date fields, email actions, field updates. So if you wanted to send out like a birthday communication to everybody, you could use date fields, email action. If you wanted to trigger based on someone opening an email, clicking on an email, clicking on a link in an email, you could use email action. Field update, certain field update within Zoho Campaigns, contact record, tag assigned, tag removed, open trigger, abandoned cart, purchase follow-up, product-specific follow-up, cyclic trigger. So this is like on a routine basis if you wanted to do it every day, every month. You have all these different triggers that you can use. For our use case, segmentation is perfect. All right, let's go through process. So we can split the different actions and have the flow separate. We're going to talk more about that in a moment. Really, for what we're going to do here, we're going to do something pretty straightforward so that it's not very confusing. But just know, based on how someone interacts with the email nurture series that we're building here, or the nurture drip, then you can put them on different paths to receive different emails based on certain criteria. I don't really recommend that if you're a beginner and you're really just trying to master the basics. But if you want to go test out these different flow controls and conditions, then you are more than welcome to try. All right. So once you enter a segment, you're going to engage, you're going to send a communication. So let's talk email campaigns here, or sending emails. So we talked about building out these different messages, these different templates earlier. And now, if I want to create a message, I click here, I can configure the topic, subject, sender, content. Content, I can actually use a template. So I can go over to save templates, and then we have this template that we built out. It's really ugly, but it's a quick and dirty way for me to show you what's possible here with Zoho. So I can proceed. Now that template is linked. So to really get into it with you for a moment, if I was really to do a needs nurturing thing, then I would actually give a lot away for free. So for example, in this video, I showed my journey map. If I was going to do a nurture track, I would have people enter a segment where it's like, here is a free download to my journey map. Get it for free. And then the next one, I try to add more value and say, I just made it. Check out my video on Zoho CRM Masterclass. And then the next video would be my Zoho CRM Implementation Masterclass. Get access for free. And maybe at the end of the drip, I'd be like, now that I've given them a bunch of free stuff, now I'm going to try to offer a free consultation. So if you need help with implementation or improvement within Zoho, here's a free consultation link. So I would gradually work my way up to the next upsell or the thing that I wanted to offer them. I would try not to be like sell, sell, sell right up front. It's kind of like jab, jab, hook. So free, 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 then offer something that costs money. So I like to, that's the strategy that I would use if I were to actually build this out. But for the sake of time, we're just going to use this template because we already built it out in a previous section of this video. So we're going to just use this template over and over again. I just wanted to go over the strategy because that is the proper way to do marketing. A lot of people just get bombed with, hey, 20% discount. Cool. Offer as much as you can for free first. I'm just assigning a topic here. We're going to map different contacts here. So if they enter the segment, they're not associated to the topic marketing. They will be now because I have this selected. I'm going to select a sender. This should look familiar to you. I'm going to do, I'll do free training. Check. Instant access to the Z training. All right, because I'm nurturing, trying to offer a lot of value for free so these people know, hey, this guy's legit. He knows what he's talking about. Add sender. Let's do Drew Brockbank. Yeah, and if you'd like a video more on the strategic side, when I do these masterclasses, I'm trying to go really in depth on the tactical. But if you want more conceptual theory, like, hey, how would you actually go about this? I've seen over 100 different companies do things like this. So if you want some insight into industry specific or you'd like something like that, just leave a comment below and I can consider making that video for you if it makes sense. All right, cool. So we got this set up. I'm going to jump back to the canvas here. And then from here, I'm going to add a delay here. Let's do my delay, wait time, excellent. All right, so I don't want to send, an email right off the bat of one email, right? I don't want them to receive 5 emails when they enter the segment. I want to stagger the communication over time. So the way that you do that is you add these wait blocks, and then you'll say, hey, this is going to happen 2 days later. And then also one thing I want to make sure that we're doing here is existing. Okay. In the settings, this is really important. We don't want, when people exit the segment, right? And this segment is built on different statuses in the buyer's journey. We want to make sure that when they no longer meet the criteria of the segment, they exit this drip. We don't want them locked into this drip as soon as they enter, no matter what the stage or status of the record is. That may not make sense to you, but if you watch a previous section of this video where I went over the journey map, that should make perfect sense to you. So the reason I bring all that up is for this setting. So set up criteria for your contacts to satisfy to move forward in the workflow. For contacts who have achieved their goal, we want to do for workflows who have not met the workflow's trigger, remove these contacts from the workflow. This is what we want. For contacts who have not met the workflow's trigger configurations, select what to do with contacts who don't satisfy configuration setup in the workflow trigger. We want to remove these contacts. So the idea here, again, is if they no longer meet the criteria that was originally set forth for the drip, we want them to be removed. We don't want to keep them in the workflow no matter what. The reason why, especially for this use case, is if we're nurturing them so that they will book with us, book consultation. We're trying to get them to the next step of the buyer's journey, trying to move them forward. If they've already moved forward in the buyer's journey, we don't want to send them redundant communication asking them to do something they've already done. So that's why we want that setting selected. So just a key note there. All right, back to building the drip campaign. Now we're going to send another email. Again, we're going to use the next template, but really I would do like Z training here, get my journey map here, and then I would do another one and say, hey, make sure to watch my Zoho CRM implementation masterclass. So I do jab, 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 hook, and then I'd say book a consultation if you need help with Zoho, something like that. I'm going to create the message here. We're going to quickly fly through it. Do marketing. Subject here. Do free template. Zoho template. Get instant access to Zoho. process documentation. Awesome. This is what we want. And then from here, I'm just going to select sender and content like I did previously. And then I'm going to show you something interesting here that you can do after you set up an email. You can actually split the different directions someone can go after they interact with the email. Cool, we'll proceed. Stuff is really powerful, as you can see. Really good way to market in your sleep. Okay, so now that we've got that, I'm going to show you this response section right here. What is this all about? If I click on it, you can see I can configure actions based on the recipient activity. So recipient, the person who you sent the email to, right? So if I enter this drip, send an email to me, I can now split the path based on if it was delivered, opened, skipped, clicked on any link, clicked on a specific link. I'm not going to do clicked on specific link. I just want to show you that now I can split this off. So now I can split the different paths based on interaction. This is one of those things where it looks cool, but in reality, it's one of those things where it's like, do you really need to do that? Most of the time, no. Just lock them into a drip and keep them in there if they meet the criteria, the original criteria. If they don't, exit them. If they're moving along the journey, don't send redundant communication. In my opinion, 99% of the time, this is overkill, and it can get really confusing really fast. One case where I would consider doing this, though, is if it was skipped, they're clicking on links, I would do scoring differently. I would give them some scoring actions. So for example, if they clicked on any link, delivered, opened, I would do something like this. I'd say, okay, I'm going to give them a certain score. And I would bring score over here. And I would configure and say, I'm going to give them X amount of points. Now you may think to yourself, Drew, how would I know how many points to give them? Don't I need like a comprehensive strategy? And that would be the case. I'm not going to share my screen quite yet. I want to make sure I get to the right document here. But in the journey document that you can make a copy of down below, there is a section for lead scoring. It's Zoho lead scoring. I don't know if you can see it on the way I'm sharing it now, but it's one of the tabs at the bottom. It just says Zoho lead scoring. So go ahead and check that out. And in the Zoho lead scoring section, I linked to Zoho Campaigns lead scoring so that you can check it out, which is what we're talking about now. So you can go through here and you can look through the different details for Zoho Campaigns lead scoring. Zoho CRM also has lead scoring, just so you know. But there's really two general buckets. Let's talk about it. Setting this up for a few clients right now. So you've got information-based lead scoring, which just means, hey, you're collecting data on certain people. Go ahead and score them based on how well their field values or the data points that you've collected match your ideal customer. The better you can align the data that you've collected on their contact record, deal record, account record with what makes them ideal, the more you're going to give them points. So for example, my ideal customer profile is between like 25 to 40 years old. They're a business, small business owner, medium-sized business owner, a RevOps leader that's marketing, sales, or service leader that's looking to take advantage of Zoho, or someone on IT who wants to gather all their data, put it into one place, and they're sick of fragmented systems. So I could put here if their persona or role equaled X, Y, or Z, I would give them a certain amount of points. And then I could also say their company size, if they're above 20, then I want to give them 20 points. If they're below 20, I want to give them -5. So basically, I can set up these advanced scoring rules based on information. Now, this doesn't have a ton to do with, admittedly, with Zoho Campaigns. You actually could set it up that way. We're not going to go into it. But for our use case, there's so many different rabbit holes I could go down. I just have to stay focused. So in Zoho Campaigns, with what we're building right now for the drips, information-based scoring isn't really critical, right? This is something we could actually do in Zoho CRM based on all the data points, because we may not bring over all the data points into Zoho Campaigns, right? Whereas Zoho CRM is the heart of our tech stack. It's going to have all the data there, or should. Behavior-based scoring. This is what we're doing in Zoho Campaigns, right? So it's like if they've opened in a 60-day period, or if they've opened an email, let's just keep it simple. Add 5 points. I don't know why this value discrepancy exists. But 5 plus, we give them 10 points. Clicked in a 60-day period, and we'd give them 15 points. You can do a form submission, page visits. There's a lot of things you can score, but oftentimes you do want to reward a certain amount of points. And then the idea is once they hit a threshold of 100 points, they graduate from a marketing ready lead, which is just termed lead, right? And they would enter MQL, sales ready, which means, hey, they've had enough interaction with our business that we are guessing, we're taking an educated guess based on their information and their interactions with us. We're taking a guess if they are ready for the sales team to reach out. For example, if someone fits all of your ideal customer profile information, they're between 25 to 40 years old. They're a small business owner with 5 employees, and they really want to set up Zoho, right? That'd be like ideal for me. And they've opened every single email that you've sent them over the last 3 months, and they have clicked on all the links. That person's sales ready. They can graduate to the next part of your customer journey, and you can send out communications to them. So that's just an example there. Cool. So you've got Zoho lead scoring if you want to go down the rabbit hole there. All right, back to the drip campaign that we're building. I could award points there. I'm not going to do it right now, but now you know how you can go forward with lead scoring if you wanted to. I'm going to remove that. Excellent. So let's pretend I had done this a dozen other times and we have like a 6-month drip, not a 2-day drip. What I would do from here is I would go ahead and activate this. And you got to keep something in mind. When you build a drip campaign or a workflow inside of Zoho Campaigns and you activate it, it's locked and there's no editing. And to make an edit, you have to freeze that workflow. You have to make a copy of it, and then you have to make edits, and then everyone has to start over. I think there may be a way for you to transfer where they're at in the current drip campaign if you want to make edits. But my point is, be very intentional. Do not flip this on and say, oh shoot, I forgot to put in 5 other emails. Make sure you get everything in there first and then activate it. So make sure you get approval, you test it, and then you move forward. Do not activate this willy-nilly. I've seen that happen a lot of times with people like, hey, I need to make a change here. Sorry, now you have to freeze it, make a copy, and then you can make changes. It's kind of a pain. Keep that in mind. So from there, I would go ahead and activate this. I would make sure, again, that this is selected, that each time an existing contact in this workflow / drip no longer met the criteria for the drip campaign, that they'd be removed. I would check that, and then I would activate this, and that would be my needs nurturing drip. And that's how you can go about creating workflows and nurture drips for your organization. All right, we're going to go over the Zoho Campaigns mobile application, which I do have on my device. So I'm going to share my device screen with you. It's just my iPhone, and we're going to go through getting the Zoho Campaigns application and then how to use it properly. So this is something that I do use. Go to the App Store if you're using an iPhone, and if you are on an Android, device, go ahead to the Play Store and search for Zoho Campaigns. Now, once you go to Zoho Campaigns, fortunately, I can't highlight things while I'm on my phone, but you can see the topmost option here, Zoho Campaigns email marketing. You can go to that. So this is the mobile application. It's pretty sweet. I already have it installed. Go ahead and install it. And once you do, open the application. So I use this. This is not actually my demo account. This is my real account. And I don't know, I really don't care. So you can just check out how things are going. Yeah, I like to send out weekly campaigns just to all my contacts list to show them, well, not all of them, not even close, but for the ones I'm trying to nurture, hey, these are all the new things that are happening in Zoho. So you can see all the campaigns here, and then you can see, let me just take you from top to bottom. So recent campaigns, you can just go to see all, and you can see how well each of these are doing. You can see I even have one scheduled and one in draft. They're actually the same one. I just need to remove the one in draft. But yeah, I've got this one scheduled. This is What is Zoho? It's in a video I actually just did. Wow, dude, I look so pale in that. It's a dope picture, but there's, I don't know, something when I cut out the background, it just makes it more black and white. It's super weird. But anyways, yeah, so you can check out the different scheduled emails you have. You can actually scroll through to the ones that you've sent, and you can just see how well they've done. So unfortunately, this one specifically had an issue with my DNS. So, but the other ones have gone really well. So open rate's not too bad. Yeah, all the leads that I've targeted that I really want to nurture, they enter here. And I've been doing this since I've started the organization. And I think it's just a best practice to constantly be providing value for what I'm doing. It's good to do it in terms of the news, because a lot of people don't want to sift through Zoho news. So I curate the news, and then I send out the most impactful news announcements to my list of contacts so they can keep updated. All right, campaigns section. So that's it for recent campaigns, right? You can see all. You can go down. Let me take you to the top right here. So here's a button. You can actually send a campaign right from the Zoho Campaigns mobile application. Do I recommend it? Not necessarily. It's so much easier to do this on desktop, on the desktop application versus the mobile application. But I want you to know it's possible. So if you're on the go and you're like, dude, I got to send out my campaign for the month, for the week, my newsletter, whatever it might be, make sure you get it out, and you can do it on the go. So same thing that we do inside of the desktop application. We would set a name. So new campaign. And then you do topic, select the topic, do your from, address, do here, select sender name, Rock Bank. You get the idea. You essentially fill out this form, and you choose a mailing list if you wanted to. And this is interesting. On the mobile application, I don't believe you're able to select segments, which is a huge limitation. So again, I don't necessarily recommend that you do this, but you could add a mailing segment if you just really wanted to send it out through the mobile application. Then you would select a subject, and then you can use a template. They give you a bunch of templates. So it's all the templates we were seeing earlier. You can just use those, but you don't get access to your saved templates. So we need that Zoho Campaigns mobile application. That'd be really helpful. So you can send out a campaign if you really want to. I don't recommend it, but just know that's available to you. Then you've got campaigns, this section here. And this is just showing over the last year, like, how good have you done at sending out campaigns? 11 sent in the last couple months. Cool. You can do 6 months, 3 months, 1 month. You can break this up. Then I can go to campaigns, see all the ones that I have sent out, which I've showed you so you understand that. You've got contacts. I'm not going to show you all my contacts, but yeah, I can just show like how many contacts have been added at one point and look at different graphs for understanding that. So that's the mobile application. It's not necessarily like the most robust thing that you've ever seen, but it's interesting. It's helpful. I like to send out my campaigns, and I don't like to really monitor how the campaigns are doing on the desktop version. I like just getting on my phone and be like, how well did it go over the course of the week? Did people open this? Was it delivered? You can see here, like more specifically with the stats, like, okay, 100% of them were delivered. Good. I verify all the emails that enter my list. So I keep it very scrubbed, very clean. Then you can see opened, how many people that actually were sent the email opened the thing, or did no one open the thing? And then you can see here on this one, breaking, Zoho announced a CPQ public launch. Cool. 100% delivered, 53% opened. And then the percent of people who opened the email and clicked on a link in the email was 33%. And then 17.9% of the people who were sent and then the email was delivered clicked. So it gives you a click-through open rate, how many people opened, your open rate, 53%, then your clicked rate against your delivered rate, and then how many people bounced. So really interesting application. I use it every day to monitor. I am kind of crazy in how much I like to monitor what's going on in the business. And so I check this constantly throughout the week because I want to see how well my campaigns are actually doing. So make sure you get the Zoho Campaigns mobile application. That's how you can get it, and that's how you can use it. All your efforts inside of Zoho Campaigns is for nothing if you're not reporting on what's working, doubling down on the things that work, and then killing off all the things that aren't working for you. So how do you actually monitor and report effectively on what's going on inside of Zoho Campaigns? We've got two main options. So the first, what I recommend, and what I recommend that you do initially, is use the reporting section that's out of the box in Zoho Campaigns. This is going to get you most of what you need for reporting. Yes, I'm just going to show you all the different campaigns I've sent. So you can see, hey, these are the reports that you can actually get. You can click into them, you can get a little more detailed. What's cool about this too is right here, you can check out at a glance. Hey, 100% delivered, awesome, opened, clicked, it's looking good. From here, you can drill down into, where in the world people are clicking, and you can get more granular with the information. It opens by time. You can see, okay, it's initially sent, it's the most opens, and then it trickles in from there. You can see unsubscribes, clicks open rate, unopened, complaints. You can see all of this. I keep this list super nice and tidy. I could blow up a bigger list, but I just really don't want to. You can see the different click activities, what links they're clicking on, the link click map. And then you can see bounces, auto replies, very robust reporting out of the box. So that is for sent campaigns. You can hook up Google Analytics. You can check out those reports as well. Campaign-based reporting. Get more granular on the different campaigns that you've sent. The different opens, open percentages. You can see on a campaign by campaign basis with this nice chart that they've developed for you out of the box. Get some real-time data on what's going on per campaign that you've sent. You can do list-based reports, and then you've got SMS campaign-based reports. Now, we didn't really go into SMS because Zoho Campaigns is primarily built for email. However, everything that we went over is applicable to SMS. So if you want to plug in SMS and use your SMS provider, then you can go ahead and do everything that we did in this video for SMS, and you can report on SMS here in the SMS campaign reporting section, which is really helpful. Now from here, if you're like, Drew, these are not the reports that I want. And I will say that actually happens more often than you think. People go in here and they're like, I need to see more. And if you want to do that, you are in luck, especially if you are on Zoho One. Now, Zoho One and Zoho CRM Plus give you access to this very robust media application. It's called Zoho Analytics. And Zoho Analytics allows you to port over data from different applications across Zoho and outside of Zoho. See, they even have competitor data sources like Salesforce. HubSpot's also in here. They've got a bunch. The thing I want you to understand from this is if you go to campaigns, here's Zoho Campaigns. I could actually add Zoho campaigns as a data source, bring all of that data, raw data, into Zoho Analytics and report on it however I'd like, which is really, really helpful because Zoho Campaigns reporting is not looking at the other applications that you're using in your organization. So if you wanted to, for example, link your Zoho Campaigns data with your Zoho CRM data and your Zoho Desk data, and you wanted to see, based on the campaigns we've sent, which ones actually trickled into closed won deals. If you wanted that kind of advanced reporting, you would need to use something like Zoho Analytics or another BI tool. There's a lot of BI tools. Zoho Analytics is the best one for how much it costs. From here, I'd go to next, and I need to authenticate, and then you can check this out. I can select the different campaigns I've sent and select the different modules. I can bring in as much as I'd like. Import new campaigns automatically. I'd select that. I can bring this all in. I don't have advanced reporting needs right now. But as I scale the organization, this is something that I would look into. And if you are a scaling organization and you need advanced reporting, you have an option with Zoho Analytics. Now, here's the thing. I could show you much more on how this worked, but I've already made a very long video for Zoho Analytics and a Zoho Analytics Masterclass. I go over different reports that every organization needs. I go over how to set up data sources in depth, how to get data in the system, create all the reports that you could possibly imagine and want for your organization. So if you want, go ahead and check out that video, but that is how you can build reports for your Zoho campaigns and how you can visualize what's happening in your organization, how you can track what marketing efforts are producing results. So you can double down on those and make sure you're not wasting your time with efforts that don't produce results.